Hello, I am Dr. D. Welcome to A Healed Perspective. And this is the channel where we will be discussing everything in mental health, mental wellness, etiquette, and elegance. So today I am joined by two wonderful queens that I'm going to bring on the stage in just a few minutes. But we are going to be talking about how to dress for success. In fact, how to dress how you want to be addressed. Again, dressing for how you want to be addressed. So I was inspired to do a video on this topic because of the words that the beautiful and elegant Mrs. Phylicia Rashad gave on the Breakfast Club the other day. She basically said, and I don't want to get a copyright strike by playing the video, but she basically said that young women, especially women on college campuses, really need to watch how they're dressing, that they should not be wearing strips of clothing because they're beautiful and they're queens, that they should lead with their beauty and their intellect instead of their bodies. And some people had some thoughts and some feelings about that. So we're going to talk it out today. But before I bring the queens on, I just want to let you all know what I'm drinking today. Today I am drinking, I don't know if you can see it, but this is the Recess Zero Proof Lime Margarita. Now, I know it says margarita, but this has no alcohol in it. This is perfect for a Sunday afternoon, any day. This calms you. It helps you to feel relaxed without alcohol, without the extra calories. It's only 30 calories. And the good thing about this, it has adaptogens in it, and those are brain-friendly ingredients that help you feel relaxed, and they help you think better too. So, this is really good. So I just want to thank the folks at Recess for gifting me this lime margarita. It is delicious, and I want you all to try it when you get a chance. All right, and the last thing is I want to let you all know about my book, which is the Black Elegance Project. And this is a book that I wrote just a few months ago about all things etiquette and elegance. Now, the book is catered to Black women because there aren't too many things that are catered specifically for us. Now, does this mean that only Black women need to fix their etiquette and elegance? Absolutely not. I feel that this is something that could be helpful to everyone. But this book comes from a Black perspective, and I think that you will enjoy it. So check it out on Amazon.com. It is called The Black Elegance Project. So without further ado, let me bring my guests on. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes. So we have Mrs. Mallory Foxx, who is Mrs. Black International Ambassador 2023-2024. I actually shared that title. I served as Mrs. Black International Ambassador 2021. So we have that great thing in common. And then we have Dr. J, Ms. Prince George's Corporate America. Prince George's County is where I grew up, and I love gorgeous Prince George's County. So welcome, ladies. Could you start by introducing yourselves and just telling everyone just a little bit about who you are and your platforms in pageantry?
Well, thank you so much, Dr. D and Dr. J, for having me today. I think this is a conversation that is well overdue. And shout out to the Queen, Miss Phylicia Rashad. I actually heard the Breakfast Club the other day when she spoke about this. So my name is Mallory Foxx. I am Mrs. Black International Ambassador 23-24. A little bit about my platform is mentorship and the importance of mentorship. Also, I work with the Kidney Cancer Association. I've been working with them since I was diagnosed with kidney cancer back in 2023. So I am the mom of two boys, and I have been married for almost 11 years. So again, thank you so much, Dr. D, for allowing me to be on this platform. And I am really excited for this conversation today.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. So, Dr. J, tell us about you, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. D, for having us. I was looking forward for this conversation, and it is timely. I am Dr. Joanne Frederick, also known as Dr. J, and I currently hold the title of Miss Prince George's County Corporate America. I was actually the first runner-up and the most photogenic for Miss Corporate America Maryland. We just had the competition last week, Saturday. And so I am a mental health therapist. I am the co-chair of the counseling programs in a university. And I also have a business. I'm the CEO of this business, and it's called JFL Counseling Services. So I work with families and couples. And so my platform is on mental health, the importance of it. One of my models is, our greatest wealth is our mental health. So everything that I do and talk about is coming from a mental health perspective. But I also tie in faith and mental health. And I do have a shameless plug, which is I created a word and a book with other colleagues, and it's called Copology. And it's really about how do we use our spirituality to cope with life challenges. And I do have the book right here with me. I have it. It's available on Amazon. And that is who I am and what I do.
Excellent. I am so blessed to be able to be graced with you all's presence and expertise. So thank you so much for being here so that we can talk about this very important topic. So let's just jump right into it. Do you think Phylicia was Phylicia Rashad right? I mean, did she need to say what needed to be said?
She said everything I feel like that we have as women, especially women of color. We should have been saying this a long time ago. I have been a lot of places. I have seen a lot of faces, but I feel like every time we go out or every time I see young ladies, the clothing is a little bit revealing. It's very revealing, and it's really, really sad because it seemed like it is affecting every single generation, even our young generation. The clothes are a little bit tighter, they're a little bit more provocative. I remember when I was growing up, people that I looked up to was like my grandmother and my great grandmother because of their grace and poise and elegance. And I really wish that we would get back to that because I feel like young women feel like they have to dress a certain way to get the attention of the opposite sex. But in reality, you're bringing on this negative condensation that you are someone that you're not. So I hate the fact that the clothing is so revealing that it's a little bit uncomfortable. Not, I mean, just as a parent, as a mom, I don't want to see others privates and just loose, just it's insane. I've never seen it before. Even I was talking to my husband, I said, it's crazy that some women go out like this. I mean, it should kind of be against the law because you're halfway nude. So it's a sad day, but this is something that what do we do as women to get to the point where we can mentor these young people and say, hey, this is not the way.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. What do you
Yeah.
think, Dr. J?
Well, as Miss Mallory was talking, I was thinking about a recent experience. So I have three children right now, and all three are in college at the same time. Different campuses, different colleges. And I was at my daughter's school, and we're walking around, and a young lady walked past us, and I can see her entire butt. But she had on shorts and she had on a shirt. And I was like, whoa, what in the world? And my daughter said, oh, Ma, that's how they dress now. Like everybody's dressed. I'm like, oh my goodness. So this conversation is relevant and timely. And my thoughts is something's going on. You know, I feel like the thing that's going on is internal, the self-esteem issues where some young ladies and women feel like, okay, well, I'm going to dress like this because of whatever reason. attention. It makes them feel better. I'm not sure exactly the reason, but what I do know is back in the days when we see these footage, black and white footage, women were dressed from head to toe, from crown to toe, and in that attire they had on a hat, they had on a full outfit, they had on stockings, even gloves at some time, and they were so elegant. So it's interesting, Dr. D, you talked about eloquence, and I think about an elegance. The three of us, in order to win these crowns and these pageants, part of it was our elegance, and it wasn't how the less clothes you wore, it was how you carried yourself, your poise, your grace, how you walked. And so the elegance is still in. It's not about the less clothes. To me, it's about the confidence within you.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that I tell people about pageantry, because some people have the belief that it's a very sexist situation, that you're going to put your body on display in a sense. And the thing that I like to tell people when I educate them about pageantry is no, in fact, most of the pageants don't even have a swimsuit portion. They might have like activewear or something like that, but it's about your grace, it's about your poise, it's about how well you interview and how well you are able to represent yourself, your platform, and the brand of the particular system that you want to represent. And that ties into life, because the world is a stage in a sense.
Right.
We have to interview for a job, right? We have to interview to get into certain organizations, sororities, or honor societies and things like that. And even though it's not 100% fair, we are assessed by the way that we look, by the way that we dress, how we present ourselves. So
Yes.
the question I want to ask you all is, how do you win at the game of life? How do young ladies succeed based on their attire? What should they do? Because I'm assuming that young ladies want to succeed. They're in college because they want to get their degree. They want to have a career. So what should they do?
You go right ahead, Dr. J.
Honestly, thank you, Mallory. Honestly, the first thing they have to do is deal with the unfinished business, the secrets that they carry. Because I say, as a mental health therapist, everyone has a secret. But when we start talking about it, the healing begins. And I feel like that's where they need to begin. Whatever childhood trauma, broken homes, hurt relationships that they've been through, they got to talk about that and deal with that so that confidence can come from within. And then after that, or at the same time, keep in mind that when people see you, the first thing that they see is how you look, how you presenting yourself. So how do you want to look? Do you want to look like a businesswoman, a boss chick, right? Because as Miss Corporate America PG County, it is that look. And that look can vary. It doesn't have to be the same look. It's about your personal style as well. And so that's a reminder for the young ladies on how they should dress. We're dressing internally first and then the external.
Great point. Great point. You got to glow up from the inside first, and then it radiates outward. Perfect.
Absolutely. Well, I think in this day and age where I hear a lot of young ladies say they want to be baddies or they want to have this certain persona, this very sexy persona, all attention is not good attention for sure. So my thing, I remember when I was, when I was in my 20s, I remember we were going through like this corporate look. Like we had blazers, we had, collared shirts. Like that was something awesome to us. So I was always told that you don't every, person that looks, you don't want everybody's attention, because you can always draw the wrong attention to yourself. So what I would say is like make sure you look at yourself before you go out, and it's about being confident. You can always be sexy and you can always look a certain way, or always show off yourself, I don't think people are, and men are looking for that type of lady or that type of woman. So just feel confident in yourself. And you always want to remember that the attention that you draw is the attention that you get. So when you're dressed a certain way, you don't want people to assume things about you. You always want to, you're smart. Like you said, Dr. D and Dr. J, you ladies are in college. You're wanting more for yourself. So always remember that for sure.
And I also think something you said reminded me, I'm thinking about what they see on social media and what they hear, and maybe even the music, but definitely what they see on social media seems like, oh, okay, that's the end thing now. So I'm going to dress like that. And I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's the persona. The like I said, it's the hot girl or the baddie, or I want to have this look because this is going to attract this, that, and the other. But clearly, no, like that. You don't want to have that hanging over your head, because we all know that perception, and that someone thinking that about you is going to always stick with you, and it's really going to be hard to try to change that for sure.
Yeah, your reputation it's currency.
Yes.
It is definitely currency. So let me ask you all this question. I think some ladies get confused because of Instagram, right? Because of some of the female rappers and how they dress and some of the things that they rap about and the twerking and all that. Instagram, same thing. And then in public, and I'm thinking of on a college campus or even in a high school, the girls that are revealing, showing parts of their bodies, they do get the attention. And even the nice guys, they're
Right.
like, oh my gosh. And I think the young ladies are seeing that, and they want that, because you're at that age where you want to be validated, right? You want to be seen, heard, and validated. But I think that they're getting it confused with respect and love and admiration. And I just wonder, can you all help young ladies to understand the difference between being lusted over or ogled at and respected?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
First, you gotta respect yourself before anybody else is gonna respect
Mm-hmm.
you. Sure. So when you go out and you get these looks and you get these kind of whispers, is that something that you want to have associated with you? I tell ladies all the time, there's always a time and a place for certain things, and we as women should not see pasties over breast, and just unwanted, like it's just very uncomfortable. So for sure, there are ways to be modest, there are ways to still be attractive, and there are ways to show attention, because again, a lot of the times the attention that you're trying to get from guys, you're doing the total opposite. And of course, your girls are gonna look at you. Oh, girl, that outfit fine. That outfit this. That outfit that. But guys are looking and like, is that someone I want to take home to my parents? Is that someone that I want to introduce to my family? So you have to think about that. Not saying that you should dress for any man. That's not, clearly that is not what I'm saying. Because as an individual, I dress the way that I like to dress, and that is very tasteful, very modest. I still, have sexy clothes, and I'm a mom, and I still like to look good for my husband, but you still want to have that in the back of your mind. Like, you want to think, am I someone that would set an example for others? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking about these young ladies thinking that they look good and they may get that attention that they may be looking for. But there's also other young ladies on campus and out that are looking at them saying, oh, I wanted to be in that organization that they're in, but look at how they're acting and how they're carrying on, because I've heard that as well. And it was a turn off. And whether it was an honor society, a sorority, a club, it's still a turn off for some of the other people that's watching the behaviors. And yes, we may say, I don't care what people say, but if you're on a college campus, you are the next leaders. So you should care about putting a positive
Right.
spin on how you look, how you carry yourself, and what you say.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing, and just to piggyback off of that, Dr. J, one thing that I've told young ladies that I've worked with in counseling is, again, your reputation is your currency. You want to have a good reputation when you're in high school or in college. Do not crash out, because you may not meet your husband in high school or college while you're there. You may not get engaged, get a ring on it while you're in college. But 10 years later, when you're at your reunion or when you're at homecoming, you will run into those people, and you want them to have fond memories of you, and you want them to give you that respect because they remember how nice and kind you were, how studious you were, how you respected yourself and your body. And you're gonna be the queen that night, because people will remember that, and that you'll be elevated even more down the line. And that's just something that I try to get young ladies to understand. Think for it now, but also for the future.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the other thing, these days, everything is recorded and stored. And so even when taking selfies or someone else, they put that out there. We could call it cyberbullying, and it is a record. It is a digital print. And so they got to keep that in mind. Like, do you want that when you're looking for a job? And by the way, any young ladies and young men listening to this recording, when companies these days are looking at you, you're going for an interview, they are looking at your social media pages, all of them, Googling your name to see, well, what kind of person. And I've seen people not get accepted to things because of what came up. So we have to be mindful of that storing of the digital footprint.
Everything is
Great
stored.
point.
I want to think that everything can be erased, be taken away, but once it's out there, it is out there. I wish our young people really value that, the old term that I remember, that your body is your temple, and you don't want it out there on display. I don't feel like that's something that you should show. And I feel like this generation is, the more you show, the more attention that you get. And it is not, that's not it.
Yeah.
That's not reality. And like you said, Dr. J, like the whole social media aspect of everything, I really feel like with our youth, that's something that is so embedded in them, and they can't get away from it. You can't turn it off. And because you see that one person that looks like this, then you want to absolutely be a carbon copy of that person. There's no originality anymore to me. And I think that's something that's very detrimental to this generation for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you all a question about men.
Mm.
I I believe that men are they like to be able to use their imagination in terms of how a woman is dressed. And it's more attractive if you wear an outfit that will leave something to the imaginations. For example, there was a song that came out many years ago called Sundress. Sundress. I don't know if you all remember this song. And this man wrote this beautiful, it was like a jazz song about women wearing sundresses and just how his imagination would just go all over the place when he would see this. So how do you think that applies to young ladies wanting companionship but not knowing what to wear?
I have a perfect example of that. I had a young man tell me that he saw this girl on campus and she was absolutely beautiful. And he described what she had on, and what she had on was her hijab. She was covered from head to foot. And he said that what caught him was how she walked, how she carried herself. So he was curious, and he went to her and spoke to her and got to know her. And he was like, wow, she was absolutely beautiful. So the point of that is, we're talking about the young ladies who are wearing less for attention and maybe trying to find a man, husband, versus a young lady that is fully covered, carrying herself in a certain way and walking in her walk, which have the young men curious about her mentality, her lifestyle. And so I hope that answered your question, which is like, how you dress. Like if you're looking for attention, I challenge you to wear that two-piece suit, skirt suit or pantsuit, and see the attention you get. You will get it positively.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I feel like as African American women, we have the shape, we have the curves, we have the like we're everything for sure. But I feel like just being a mystery is something that drew my husband to me. And I even asked him, I was like, I wasn't, back in the day, I didn't really dress very provocative. I always had on, t-shirt, jeans, I would wear a blazer everywhere because I thought that was just like the classiest thing you could do in heels. And I was like, what drew you to me? And he was like, it was just your confidence. You were not overly sexy. You weren't, you weren't showing everything, and you were a mystery. And I'm like, okay, I kind of like that. So I wish that our young women would understand that men love mystery. Men love to see, of course they love to see you like you said, your sundress, your simple clothing, your sweats and your oversized t-shirts, your hair in a bun, just very simple, very, not trying too hard. And again, of course, I wear my sexy dresses, but I don't wear a mini dress or a mini skirt. I wear a midi which that falls at my calves, because I don't want certain things to be shown. Like, I don't feel like everyone should see that. But it's the way you style confident. It's how you bring your into a room. So I think that young ladies, and like you said, Dr. J, seeing a lady that is dressed from head to toe and just seeing her face, you don't see that. It's like a unicorn. Like, so ladies, guys love unicorns. They don't want to see you in your lingerie out on campus or out at a club. Leave that to the four walls that you call home. So your husband or your spouse can say, my lady's something special. Like, y'all, I don't want y'all seeing everything. And you should feel there's nothing more sexy than letting your husband see everything and not the world. Because we
yes. And I love what you said, because that's actually some game. That's some free game that we're giving the young ladies right now to do the opposite. So everybody else is wearing nothing and they're showing their butt, and you cover everything, and you'll stand out. Exactly. You'll stand out. When I met my husband, I was wearing some red jeans, and that's the thing that made me stand out. Nobody else had on red. In fact, I was coming from work. I looked like a Target employee, actually. I did not work at Target, but I had on red jeans and a white blouse and some sneakers. And he said, I noticed your sneakers, because nobody else was wearing sneakers. I had y'all, TMI, I had foot surgery, so I had to wear sneakers. I wanted to wear heels, but the sneakers were the thing that caught his eye. I was doing the opposite, not meaning to do the opposite, but I was doing the opposite, and it made me stand out in a good way for him.
Yeah.
For sure. Because look, that's your husband. You married. And the first thing he saw was your sneakers. He didn't see your breasts. He didn't see, like none of that hanging out. So
yeah. And it reminds me of when I was single. The times that people would randomly talk to me was when I was dressed regular in the grocery store. And I'd be like, I'm regular. Like, what is this? And, when you try to dress up for attention, it don't really work. And it also reminds me, being a college student, when I was with my girls, I didn't meet new people because I was with my girls. But when I was alone, I would meet all kinds of people, females, males, just friends. And when I go back out with my friends, they would say, how do you know so many people? I'm like, yeah, because sometimes I go out by myself. And so, like you said, Dr. D, when you stand out by yourself, you will attract positive energy and positive people.
Yes. Yes. So let me ask you all about the power of the crown. One thing that I noticed as a queen, now I get treated pretty well with respect when I go out and about. But when I put that crown on and that sash and that dress, I would get the type of attention that I mean, it was out of this world. I remember one time, this was after New York Fashion Week, we had to walk, because in New York, you just walk everywhere. So I had on the couture gown that I wore on the runway, and I'm walking, got the crown on, all of that. And just people just on the street who may have, these were just folks on the street. I'm just going to say that. They were like, oh, Queen. I mean, and it was just like a magical experience. I talk about it in my book, about how your attire can change somebody who may have, I don't know, like I said, these were folks on the street. I'm just going to say that. But the way your attire can really elevate the way that you are addressed. Can you all speak to that and your experiences as queens?
I can. So for me, this whole queen journey is new. So it is exciting to the point that sometimes I put it away because I kind of just want to blend in. But then there's other times that I'm like, you know what? Let me do this, because I do want to talk about my platform. I do want to talk about mental health. I do want to network. I do want to put people together. And what I noticed, so recently, I even reminded myself of what the crown means. So first of all women, we have a crown, right? Many times our crown is invisible, but it is the top of our head. But when we wear a visual version of a crown, a tiara, anything like that, it is a sign of respect, royalty, adornment, and people get attracted to that. They want to hear the story. And so that has been my experience, and I love it because there is a story. There's a reason why. And it's kind of what you said earlier, Dr. T, is that people have these stereotypes of what being a queen is, right? A pageant, it's beauty, it's stereotype, it's all that. But as I began this journey, what I realized is that every woman wearing this crown and that has gone through pageantry competitions, whether they won or not, they have an excellent story. Their stories are being business owners, moms, caretakers, photographers, mental health therapists, and it's just amazing. And so that's what, to me, the crown represents, and the sash and the attention. So I challenge people, the next time you see a queen, first of all, remind yourself you are a queen. But the next time you visually see one wearing the adornment, find out the story, talk, network, get their information.
Absolutely. Yes.
That is absolutely 100%. And I can agree. Sometimes I just want to be incognito. I want to be with the people because I feel like I'm a queen that I love to network. I love to talk to people. I love to meet new people. I love to hear people's journeys, all that good thing. But I also love to put on the crown and the sash because it not only reminds me of the hard work that I've done, but it also reminds people around me, especially little girls who look just like me, that you can do the same thing. That I'm not out here, doing things that, of course, the media shows us doing, the negative connotations that comes along with being a Black woman, that comes along with being a woman. I'm out here, I'm fully clothed. I'm a beautiful woman. I'm an articulate woman, but I'm also just a human being. And I love that. I feel like that is a microphone for what I have to say and what I want to say. So I feel like when you do see someone with their crown and their sash, people get excited. But then they ask you the second question. Well, the first question is, oh my God, congratulations. How did you win that? Second, well, what do you do? And that's the time where it's like a gateway. You can kind of open up and go wherever. And you never know who you're going to meet. And like I tell little girls, especially the young girls, if I can do this, and I come from the projects, I come from the hood, I was every kind of statistic that everyone put on me, but I'm sitting here and I have a crown and a sash on, so can you. So I think it all ties in together with how we want to be persuade in our appearance. I think that's something that goes absolutely hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you were sharing, people curiosity, I was thinking about, I went to a elementary school to do a reading. Thank you, Dr. D, for that. And I was introduced as the queen, and some of the little girls, and I'm talking, they were like 5, 6, 7, they stopped running in the hallway and acting wild, and they just stopped. And they were looking and they were like, oh my gosh, because it was like they never saw someone that looked like them in person in their school, walking around, reading a story. And it was like really nice to hear. The other thing too is you were talking about your background and the stereotypes. And so my background, my family is, if they are immigrants, they migrated to the United States from Trinidad and Tobago and other Caribbean islands. And so I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And so people have this stereotype. I had a guy tell me, oh, so you was raised in the projects? Which project in New York? And I'm like, never have I even was raised in a project. We lived in a home. And so the stereotypes, part of that is when people hear an accent. You know, everyone have an accent. But when you hear the accent, there's a stereotype. And I think, again, wearing the crown and the sash opens conversation, open our ears to be diverse and to know that people of color, we are diverse. We're not from the same place and we all have a different story.
Right.
So true. So true. And, you know, there was that experience, Dr. J, when you came to my school, that was a magical experience because for a lot of those students, they had not seen a Black queen. They had never seen a Black queen in person, and having that role is so influential to young people because I think that for many of them, they see Black women as either a mother or a teacher, but or maybe
Struggling.
a principal, but struggling, and yeah, and as educators, there is a struggle there in itself. But to see a Black woman as a queen and wearing the crown and the sash and being so kind and
Right.
smiling, right? Not struggling is so important. It's so important for our young people to see that. So,
Absolutely. It
mhm.
Yeah.
it just goes back to the queen, Miss Phylicia Rashad. I can
Yes.
remember when I was a young lady. I didn't know anything about pageantry, but I could tell you every episode of the Cosby Show that came on. I was always glued into it because I saw her as just a shero, so to speak. She was a mom. She was,
Yes.
on the show. She was an attorney. And then she was so elegant and she was so graceful. And I remember the episode when she told Elvin off, but the way
Yes.
she told him off was just so, it was like, girl, you got your point across and I get it, but don't play with me. That's just something, that's just someone that I looked up to. And I was like, I want to be like her when I grow up.
Mhm.
I want to be a mom. I want to be a successful woman. I want to be a contributor to society. I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want to be known as the girl from the hood who did this, that, and the third. Like, I was like, no, I'm not. So I think it's really good for our young people to find a role model that you can really look up to, not idolize, just someone that you can say, wow, is she, that's what I want to model myself out to be. Of course,
Yes.
be an individual, but find that person, find those people that you can absolutely draw from, and of course,
Mhm.
be yourself and be original. Because again, everybody's a carbon copy. I feel like, especially when
Yeah.
it comes to social media.
It's so important for us to have those role models. And just like with Claire Huxtable, that was a character, but she still influenced us. And the real Phylicia Rashad uh, was just as, or if not more, of a queen.
Right.
She worked at Howard University as the dean. She came to Waldorf, good old Waldorf, Maryland, a couple years ago, and spoke to. It was like an education workshop, and she was the keynote speaker, and she was just, I mean, so much wisdom and so much grace. So she
Yeah.
was the embodiment of Claire Huxtable and more. But I think that, back then when we had the Cosby Show, of course, we had there were always, there in entertainment, there were females who maybe didn't wear as much, but there was a balance,
Right.
right? So my question to you all is, what can young girls do? What can young ladies do to get that role model? Maybe if they don't have that in their family or in their community, how can they find that role model to give them balance? Yes, with popular rap music, yes, I believe in free speech. I believe that women should be able to express themselves, but balance is so important. So how should young girls find that?
I think that they have to be exposed, and the young ladies are going to have to find ways to be exposed to a variety of people in a variety of places, and particularly a variety of women. And any woman that they see that they admire, to not be afraid to talk to her, get to know them, and call that a mentorship. And the mentorship between women, it is reciprocal. It's not just one feeding into one, but it's growth for both. But that young lady is going to have to take a risk to reach out, and then we as the women who may be a little bit more established, we may have to look at young ladies and identify more than one and say, hey, little sis, let me teach you some things, and they're watching our behaviors. They're watching what we say, what we don't say, what we wear, what we're not wearing. And so we have to be mindful to expose them to, some growth, areas of growth.
Absolutely.
I really think what we're doing here is something that is very important. And I think having conversations like this will help, because we do live in a AI technology driven world. In the diaspora of everything, we have to come together and let our young people know, like, we're not scolding you, we're not talking down on you by any means, but let me tell you and let me take you in, because a lot of young women don't know how to dress. Let's just be real. I have mentored a lot of young women, and I've even had young women who don't know how to wear the proper undergarments, who don't know how to shop for their body type. That's not saying that there's something wrong with you as an individual, as a woman, but it is up to us as the elders to teach them that way, because of course we had people that we could look up to, but I feel like those people are slowly, expiring, and they're not around anymore. So now we're the generation that have to step up and go to our young women and say, listen, I get it, we were young before. Of course, we had our generational people who were questionable, and like Dr. D, I'm a huge free spirit. I'm a woman that, believe that women's rights are their rights, and of course your speech, you can say whatever you want to say, but it also comes with a cost. So you have to also be careful, for sure. So again, having platforms like this is very, very helpful. And like you said, Dr. J, we have to go and we have to have that line of communication open. We absolutely have to have that. Don't be afraid to approach one another. Elders, don't be afraid to reach out to the youth. Youth, don't be afraid to reach out to us. Because again, it's we're all learning. We're never going to stop learning. So I think that's something that really needs to be done, for sure. Keep the lines of communication flowing. Let's keep conversations like this going. I would love to hear from a young lady's perspective on how they feel about how they dress. I mean, I don't really understand it, but maybe that's something that is ignorant for me that I don't know. But I would love to have that conversation, for sure.
And I want to piggyback on something you said, if I can, Dr. D. Um, you were talking about like that relationship, right? This full circle, and like what we're doing here is an example. And I will take that example even further. So, like my relationship with Dr. D, we met, on the university level. Right. And I'm sure, and I hope I've taught her some things, I hope, in terms of the industry and the field of counseling and psychology. But so now it's years later, and we kind of stayed connected through social media, not really, communicating. But she saw what I was doing in terms of pageantry. And she said, hey, I have some advice for you and some tip. Come, let's meet. And we've done some work together. She taught me how to walk and how to carry myself. And that's why I came up first runner up. But that is an example of how we have to reach back, and it's full circle because now we are colleagues. But when it comes to pageantry, I feel like I'm a student learning and growing from this elegant lady that I call Dr. D.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that is just the beauty of what we do and the beauty of sisterhood, right?
Yes.
Because you have taught me so many things, Dr. J, and you have been an inspiration to me. But also Mallory, watching Mallory's reign. Yes. Yeah. Oh, why are you looking surprised? Watching Mallory's reign and watching all the wonderful things that she has done as Mrs. Black International Ambassador.
Wow.
Again, I was Mrs. Black International Ambassador 2021, and Mallory, I didn't crown Mallory, but Mallory has continued the tradition and has done such a great job. And I am inspired by both of you. And I'm gonna say this. Mallory, you said something about talking to a young lady, and I kind of feel like we might need to do a part 2 with some young people and really just have a no holds barred discussion about this.
I think it would be amazing because, again, young people, we are not scolding you. Maybe we just don't know from your perspective. And, who's to say who's right and who's wrong? I feel like we're right. But I would love to hear from a young person's perspective and to see all the pressures that they have now. We didn't have that when we were growing up. I did not get on social media until I was almost graduated from high school. I just didn't have access to it. So it's something to learn because I feel like if we can understand each other, maybe we can kind of come together and meet in the middle with every single thing for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I'll give an example. So during the pandemic and after, adults were talking about what it was like for them to be a parent and, helping their kids in the home and so forth. But we did a panel discussion and we had students come to talk about what it was like for them. And it was so interesting hearing their perspective. And they even said that their communication is off because they had about 3 or 4 years that they weren't communicating with people in person. They're online, they're not really. And so they had to kind of relearn that if they could, and many didn't. And many continue to kind of hide behind devices and the screen. So we would have never known all of that if we didn't hear from them. So I really like that idea.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'll get to work on that and I'll be reaching out to you all about a part 2. But before we end our session, because I don't want to hold you all too long, I just want to ask you all just to give some final thoughts and just to let everyone know how they can reach out to you, follow you, and just kind of hear more about what you all are doing with your platforms and with your careers.
Thank you so much, Dr. J and Dr. D. This was an incredible conversation. I'm so glad we're going to continue and have a part 2. Again, I wish this was something that was accessible when I was growing up. Because again, I hung out with my grandma and my great grandma. So I know what inspired me and I know what kind of woman I wanted to be. So maybe you're in a situation where you're lost. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to reach out to a mentor. Well, we would absolutely love to be that for you, for sure. And again, this is not a scolding at all. This is something where, again, we can just learn from each other. I love this candid conversation that we are having all over the words that Phylicia Rashad said. So this is something that is super, super incredible. I really, really enjoyed it for sure. You can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram name is MBIA Ms, and that's MRS. And that is my pageant journey, but my personal is Ms. MRS Mallory Foxx, and that's FOXX. And I do have a YouTube channel where I talk about beauty and hair and glam, all that good stuff. It is smiles. And it's kind of what, what we're doing here. I talk about beauty trends, I talk about makeup, I talk about hair, all the good things that, you know, girls love to talk about, how to, stick to a budget, how to go to Goodwill and find good finds, all that good things. So thank you guys again for this amazing platform. And I am so excited about part two for sure.
Yes.
Wow, Mallory, I gotta follow you. I just wrote down your information. That sounds so exciting. Well, once again, I'm Dr. Joanne Frederick, and ways that people can find me. My email one is Ask Dr. Joanne. So it's AskDrJoanne at yahoo.com. I'm also available on Facebook as Joanne J. Frederick. So that's JoanneJ, excuse me, Joanne, yeah, J as in Joanne, J dot Frederick, Frederick. I'm also available via phone, text at 301-257-3886. I have an Instagram handle, which is also JFL as in Larry Counseling, COUNSELING. And again, I am a mental health therapist, all things mental health. So for example, I'm getting ready to do a workshop on mental health and makeup, the relationship.
Oh,
Right. I'm getting ready to talk at Temple University to 300 girls, and it's going to be called The Power of the Crown. So I did a little bit of it today, which is the crown, like what do we do, but to help them self-esteem. But then also I'm getting ready to do some things about like mental health and what we put in our body, how it all relates. So anything mental health related, and that is my platform. And again, I do train people to be mental health therapists. I'm currently at George Mason University as the co-chair of the counseling department, and I am in private practice. I'm the CEO of JFL and Associates Counseling Services. And one last resource, Copology. I tell people that counseling can be expensive, but if you can pick up a book, a self-help book, and read in your privacy of your home on your time, it'll be helpful. Copology is one of the books that do that. I talk about myself and other authors, how to use your faith and spirituality to cope. And as we're talking about books, and I know you're going to talk about this, Dr. D, I just thought about how Dr. D's book relates exactly to this topic, which is was it the Black Project?
yeah, the Black Elegance Project. Yes,
Elegance
I have
Project.
a chapter on dress how you want to be addressed.
Yes,
Yes,
all
yes,
related. Thank you.
yes. If you want to be a boss, dress like a boss. You don't
Yes,
have to be a boss. If you want to be a wife, dress like a wife. Even if you don't even have a partner in your life, you have
yes.
to dress the way you want to be dressed. So I just want to let everyone know that I can be found, of course, here uh, on YouTube, but I can also be found on TikTok at A Healed Perspective and on Instagram at A Healed Perspective. My book, The Black Elegance Project, can be found on Amazon.com. And I want to encourage everyone to like this video, to share this video, and subscribe because there will be more. You want to be notified when we have our part two. So make sure you hit that bell and make sure you subscribe so you will find out as soon as as we make our video available to you. I want to thank you all so much for this. This has been amazing. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Mallory and Dr. J. You all have been just wonderful and wonderful examples of elegance and of etiquette and of queen behavior. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. So until next time, this was A Healed Perspective. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. All right. I'm going to make sure my recording